Hello and welcome to our webinar. My name is Fiona Hood and I'm the brand marketer at Image 7. Our topic today is the best way to influence word of mouth. Our first presenter is Brad Entwistle, Image 7's founder and managing director. And our second presenter is Andrew Scully Sculthorpe, who is our business director. If you listen to our fortnightly podcast, you will know their voice as well. So guys, let's begin the webinar.
Thanks, Fee. Well, welcome to everybody. It's Brad here, and just before we start off, a little quick bit about Image 7, just to give you some context if you haven't met us before. So Image 7 is a marketing communications firm, originally based in Perth, and that's where our service hub is now, but with offices in Sydney and staff in Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, and in Ireland, and servicing Ireland and the UK. So we've been at this for 25 years this year, which is a bit scary. The team's about 23 in size, spread around the offices, and as I said, the service hub is in Perth. So today's goal is that we will find out within the next 25 minutes or so how to effectively use and influence your firm's word of mouth to control what's being said. And that's a fairly big goal for such a short time. So we've enlisted the help of our word of mouth guru, Andrew Scully Sculthorpe, who is right next to us. How are you doing, mate?
Very well indeed. Yes, some people say I'm all mouth, but yeah, ready to go.
Okay, so let's dive straight in. So first up, the premise of what we're talking about today is that word of mouth is considered to be this sort of natural thing. It happens organically, but what you're saying is it doesn't just happen.
No, it's startling how many firms I've talked to who say, I just need. It speaks for itself. The benefits of my firm speak for themselves, and I just don't need to get people talking about it, and everything will magically come to fruition, and they're going to be millionaires. But look, nothing happens without concerted marketing effort. Don't rely on luck.
So, if things have to be done, presumably there's what we call toolkits, and tools actually aren't always things. They're mindsets, they're procedures and things like that. But presumably there's a toolkit.
Look, there is, and here's the second health warning before we really get stuck in. Look, word of mouth is a sensational, valuable tool, and it can work incredibly hard, but it doesn't act alone. It needs to be part of a broader strategy. But if you've only got the one tool and somehow you can harness it, word of mouth will do a great job.
So the reality is about word of mouth that it doesn't matter how big or how small your firm is. Word of mouth marketing is vital. Now that's a big call in itself, but we think we're going to show you why that's the case right now.
Yeah, so many people have misunderstand word of mouth. Think, it's okay for the big boys. Everyone's talking about them, about their organisation, because of course they're huge and it's easy. But in fact, it doesn't matter the size of the firm. It's about your community, your customers, whoever you're involved in. And you've got so much to communicate to get across the benefits of what you're about, and to really build a relationship. Even however small you are, start building a relationship with the personalities, with your team, with your staff. So big or small, it can work just as effectively.
Now, getting our word of mouth marketing ducks in a row, and not like our little fella there paddling off in the wrong direction. It's all about a plan.
It is. I'm sorry, we can't just wing it. Then there's so much needed now in marketing land to pull it all together. But if you do get those ducks in a row, you can get word of mouth. And what we're trying to achieve is to plant your words in the mouths of your customers and your potential customers to be talking about you. And in order to get that, you need to just have different things aligned. Now that can relate to your internal communications, your engagement with the community, be that in the industry that you're involved in, or even geographically. Get that digital footprint right. Really, people just spend so much time looking online. You might have promotions, events, checking on competitors, media monitoring. There's so many different things, and get them all in a row. That needn't be intimidating. That needs to be just organized. It's that simple.
So why do we believe it's so important? Well, the answer is that research shows us 67%, basically 2/3 of a purchase decision for professional services firms is already made by the time that the person actually puts their hand up and contacts you. So think of that. There is 2/3 of the decision-making process, and you haven't even been contacted yet. You just don't know that that client or customer is there. So that's a big thing, and that's the space where word of mouth can reach back. So from that rationale, Scully, how can we do better?
First of all, we need to understand, and now here's some research interesting as to what your clients, I guarantee, are wanting from you. They're wanting to be better communicated with. This one demonstrates people want to be communicated through electronic communications, but of course they're time poor. Improve good old-fashioned email communication. Yes, it's alive and well. They enjoy direct and personal communication, and print is not dead at all, far from it. So these key elements, people want to be communicated better, to by their professional services firms so the clients are saying communicate better, talk to us. And if you do that and you get consistent messages across all these different formats, you'll find what your clients, ultimately your advocates, are saying is exactly what you want them to say, because if you're consistent across all these methods.
Now, a few statistics that actually really back that up. 74% of people identify word of mouth as a key influencer. So that's in a way that's not a surprise. But word of mouth has been shown to improve marketing effectiveness by up to 54%. So imagine that if you could ratchet up all of your marketing efforts by 54%, isn't that something that you'd want to actually investigate and try to find out how you can do it better? And finally, a 10% increase in word of mouth. These days that means online and offline. Word of mouth isn't all about people talking to each other face to face. Translates into sales lifts of up to 1.5%. So small changes can mean big changes. And the really big number, and again, not a surprise, but 92%, nearly everybody, believe family and friends over advertising. So if your mum tells you that the baked beans are good for you, as opposed to the ad on TV telling you the baked beans are good for you, you're going to believe your mum.
Instantly transferable statistic. If one of your clients tells one of his mates or their clients what a great service you're providing, there is nothing more compelling.
So we've got the reasoning, the rationale why this word of mouth is important. So the really difficult thing, all of our clients have always said to me for 25 years, Scully, is, so that's great, but how do we do it?
We're down to that ducks in a row time, aren't we? So you've got to know your audience, know who it is that you're talking about. Do your research. Don't just rely on a hunch. Really do some surveys. Find out who your audience is and who you aspire your audience to be, who you want your next range of clients to be. You want to be talking to them. How do you reach them? What is it that they do? How do they consume media? How do they consume anything you've got to say? So really get to know them. So do some survey information. And it doesn't need to be a 700 question survey monkey job. This needs to be good intelligence from your own team on the ground. And this, ideally, if you can have some email communication or a small survey, sensational. But pool all your resources, pool your thoughts together, find out who it is you want to talk to. Really, really get to know them. Now, client personas, that's a bit of a fancy word. In fact, think avatars almost. Who are we talking about here? Because in your head, there is nothing better if you're going to start talking to these people than almost creating caricatures of the type of professional that you want to reach, the type of client that you want. It's a 35 to 45-year-old male, female, professional, whatever it may be, because with that in mind, as you're reaching out to them, you can have that in your thoughts at all times, so that the type of content you're creating is going to hit those people. Now, answering their questions, the only reason those people, those personas we're talking about, are actually going to pay any attention to you at all is if you have what you're saying is of some interest, and actually answering their questions, their problems, the issues they face professionally, and you are the guys that can answer those problems. So that's also how new people will find you, as well as existing clients will recommend these pearls of wisdom you've got to share.
But before we actually start talking about the firm, we've got to know what we're talking about.
Exactly. So we know we know your clients and your clients for the future, we hope. But who are you? What are you? What are any of us in terms of our professional firms? What do we want to stand for? Now, take some time, sit back, and really try to articulate the brand and the benefits of your firm. What you bring, hopefully, that no one else offers, or some different real point of difference. You know, what's special about your firm? Is it the people? Is it the hours that you work? Is it the fact that you've got a Mauritius office? I don't know. Whatever it is, there's no right or wrong. But what sets you out differently? Is your coffee best? If so, we'll be around later. Think about what you have got that no one else has got, and even if other people do have it, really play to your strengths, and don't be afraid to stand for something. You're never going to be loved by everybody. Stand up to be counted. Have an opinion, and be prepared to share it.
Now, one of the things that we've been preaching for years, Scully, is that, you know, it's about consistency. Being consistently consistent is just incredibly important.
Oh, totally. And just because you've now have got a pretty good idea of your point of difference and all the rest of it, that, I'm afraid, in itself almost certainly isn't enough. You need to develop that. Get that piece of paper, articulate your key messages, a number of key messages that really absolutely drill down to the very essence of what you're about. The key messages, maybe 5 or 6 of them, they're the very core of your firm's existence. And then likewise, in terms of visual style guide, I mean, you may well have a style guide. Don't do your firm's logo upside down or pink with green spots on. If you're going to start to be putting out content, then you're going to need to be consistent visually as well as with the words, the key message I've described. And for that reason, you can develop a language guide, the type of language you use in terms of how fantastic you are. Do you use fantastic or you use exceptional? Whatever it is, be consistent. What we want to do is layer that language so that language about you is coming back when people are talking about you, the good stuff, I mean. What this is going to do, if you're consistent, if you're not consistent, be so consistent you actually get sick of it, sick of your own voice, because only by the time you feel, gosh, I've said that, we've made that point, we've labored that point, only then, I guarantee, will your audience or your prospective audience probably even be waking up to the fact that this may be what you're about. But by being consistent, you're going to create advocates, because you're going to be known for what it is you're talking about. So you're going to create advocates, and there's nothing more powerful than, as I said earlier, your clients advocating you to others, or the broader community just going, wow, we're really proud to have this firm here. It'll strengthen that USP as unique sales proposition, unique sales. But what's different about you? And by being consistent, they will stand out. What is perhaps something that you and many others stand for, it will become synonymous with you. So therefore, it becomes more unique and actually weakens the opposition. And really, loyalty can exist, particularly in professional services. The people don't want to jump around and leave. If you can actually get that content out, you can develop almost a pride in the fact that customers are going to the guys that really know this area. So be consistent, and then just when you think you're even more sick of it, continue to be remorselessly consistent again.
Now, if you were to leave today's webinar with just 3 things in your mind, pay attention now, because this is the 3 things. We call it the 3E mindset. And the first E of the 3 is engage.
Yeah. Now, it's so important. Now, we're in this world of creating content, in this world of standing for something. I'm not just talking bland slogans. We need to think of ourselves as the publishers even. We are the creating the news, the content, in order to answer the problems, the issues that our clients and potential clients are facing. So you'll only engage by offering something. So you'll only know what the problems are by really listening. Listen, and then encourage others. Really interact with them. It's not just don't have this as a monologue, blurting out whatever it is you want to say. It's about ultimately entering into a dialogue with a customer base, with your potential client base. So really interact, communicate. Most of all, answer those problems. Those problems may be ones that you perceive are problems, and no one's told you that yet. But when you listen, you'll be able to answer more and more problems by creating great content. And suddenly you'll find you've got a community that's actually engaging. A community maybe I'm not talking geographical here. I'm talking a community within your industry who see you as thought leaders.
And the next E is to equip.
Yeah. So I've already said you need to stand for something. So you need to equip people. If you want them to talk about you, don't just presume, if we bung out a load of stuff, they're going to talk. They're going to talk incessantly because they have nothing else to talk about. Yeah, if only. Give people a reason to talk about you. As I said, stand for something. Really caught a little bit of controversy at times with, professionally, but without trying to dumb down. Give people a reason to talk about you because you're thought leaders, or you're doing something differently, or your approach to a professional issue is slightly different. Demonstrate that you are a creative thinkers. Whatever the business you're in, you've worked out what those through your key messages, through your points of difference, what's special about you. Now talk about it. Put those words into the mouths of everyone.
And the third E is, of course, empower.
Right. So we've got the world and his wife, at least the very perhaps niche audience that you actually care about, understanding what you stand for. Wow, that's great. That's brilliant. You really stand for something, and you've got them wanting to talk about you, and hopefully they will. It might be in the pub, it might be in the coffee shop, or at home. Who knows? But how do we? This is the beauty now of the digital age. There is so much more that can be done, and make it easy for your audience to share. Now, that may well be just using your words when they're sitting in your office back at you. This is why I've come to you. But you want them to share it with everyone. Now, with social media in particular, there's a fantastic tool, huge tool, to be able to share it, like it, push it on, hashtags galore, whatever it may be. So make it easy. Make it easy. If you've sent out an email newsletter with a particular piece of work you're proud of, make it easy for people to share that with a link through to one social media or another. This way, it can your reach can grow exponentially, and all you've really had to do is put a little icon on there. So, and just don't stop doing it. It's this whole mindset, if you like. If we want to get word of mouth into people's minds, then you don't stop. Once you let the genie out of the bottle, you've got to keep going, and then you've got to keep going some more. This is about consistency, not necessarily about volume. It's about consistently putting out that email newsletter every Tuesday on, or whatever it is. Your Twitter feed. I don't know, whatever it is that you're doing, but it's about consistently getting across what you're about communicating your great ideas. Whatever you do, don't stop. This is not a campaign mentality. I think that's another hugely important outtake from this. It's not a little quick spurt, oh, everything will be okay now. 18 months later, oh, perhaps we should do some more. No, when you start, keep going.
Now, Scully, you've tried to be memorable here by creating liar. Not too sure about the spelling and typography there, but listen intently.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, we've said get the word out, blurt it out, blah 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 blah. But it's not just about ramming your message out there. You need to listen. Now, there are lots of different ways to listen these days. You can monitor what's being said about you. Hopefully, you got your finger on the pulse. Your sales team, your business development director, whatever it may be, are hearing what's being said. Lovely. That remains anecdotal. These days, you can monitor very effectively what's being said about you, be it in press. Media relations is very powerful as well as a tool. And then you can also listen as being what's being said in social media and all the different media. So listen to what's being said. Really try and keep your finger on the pulse, because that's actually creating the next content that you're going to be talking about. Again, being one step ahead, answering people's problems. Assess what's being said. You know, to be in the world of digital landscape, you can gather so much information. And sometimes it's easy to ignore. But in fact, if you look between the lines, you can often go, gosh, remember when we talked about such and such? In fact, nobody responded. Nobody shared that fact. Nobody seemed to really care. So assess it. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's about testing and trialing. Others, you'll go, gosh, that was successful. We've really hit a nerve here. How can we tap into that? So assess what's being said. Again, not just banging it out there, but it's also about assessing what's being said and therefore responding by answering questions and research. Really be ahead of the game. Research what's being said about you, yes, but also research is fantastic content in itself. The white paper by professional service firm X, the research we've done with our clients, with clients in certain states or nationally, or even share research from other trusted international players. Instantly, it's a wonderful content that can help you stand out from the crowd.
So what are we going to tell them now? Now that we've got them talking, what are we going to tell?
Well, really, we want to tell them about. We want to answer their problems. That's a better way of putting it. We want to match the advantages and benefits that you bring in your sector. We want to solve their problems, answer their questions, demonstrate you're leaders in a certain field, and what a great service you deliver. But it's not about saying we're great, we're great, we're great. It's about saying this is a great approach to solving a problem. Social media, just a quick one. Yes, it's powerful. However, there's a whole heap of them, more than just these 5. But in a quick look at this, Facebook, very different. I like guitars as opposed to LinkedIn. I'm very skilled at teaching guitar. If you can mentally absorb that slide in front of you, all that's trying to say is horses for courses. Different social media work, and you'll guarantee you'll be exhausted if you try and do all of them. So have a think about what's the most effective platform for you.
Now, once we've got people talking, and presumably we can tell them what to say, but they're not going to say exactly what we want them to say. They're not going to be parrots.
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? No, it's about being real. It's about being real. These are people. Yes, they're your potential clients and your existing clients, but they're people. So you're people as well. Sell that human touch. Be authentic. Be relevant. And people will, if you create the quality and original thinking to a degree, people will want to know about that. And when you've demonstrated the realness, if that's a real word, then you'll find that people are going to talk about it. So part of that is creating a calendar of content now, not just doing the same thing time after time. Create a calendar so you're not repeating yourself, and people will see, oh, this is original and it's authentic. I like these guys.
And it would seem as though, I mean, we've talked about social media, but there's two competing things here. You've got to mix it up, try different things, but at the same time, not do everything and keep it all fresh at the same time. There's lots of balls in the air.
There are. Did I say it was easy? Yeah, but it's just you can only do so much, and I would suggest that you become very good in a few channels, equally mixed up. And by that also, there could be podcasts. There could be a webinar like you're listening to right now. There could be media relations is great, trying to get quotes in the press. And of course, there's lots of different social media. So just be conscious that don't just rely on one channel. And in this digital landscape, social media is good, but you don't own that. What you do own is your own website. So ideally, drive people back to your website, to your own real estate.
So what's the outcome now, Scully? Let's bring this into land.
Yeah, it's not about likes, is it? Just be careful. A lot of people spend a lot of money, certainly in the B2C world, of having millions and millions of likes, and really for what end? It's really about conversion. It's about converting into business, into cash. So just measure, work out how you want to measure success, how you're going to track it through. And this brings in another more technology, which is an inbound marketing technology, where you take people that are listening to you, you convert them into some form of dialogue, and then you convert it into you measure who's listening, you start a dialogue, then you can track those people and ultimately nurture them. And they are people. I say people, not just client, not just potential clients, not just firms. You can track them, nurture them through an engagement, and then convert them through the normal sales process that you have.
So just a few resources as we wrap this up that you could find useful. Number one, of course, this webinar recording, which is going to, we'll send you an email so that you can review it or pass it on. And ebooks, which you can download. So there's inbound marketing for you. There's a message architecture program book, and there's the brand protection program. You can get all those at image7.com.au/PSM webinar resources. So that's PSM webinar resources. And of course, you can ask the man himself. Ask Scully how to generate more leads for your firm. You can do that at image7.com.au/consult-PSM. And you can request some time with Scully, and he's ready and waiting. A few more things on the free front. The Professional Services Marketing e-newsletter and blog. You can subscribe for those. Once a fortnight, Scully and I create a short 30 minutes professional services marketing podcast. And of course, there's the library of webinars, and all of that is available at PSM Webinar Resources. So that's it for us. Let's just pass back to Fiona, and we'll see if there's any questions.
Thanks, guys. Great webinar. Now, we've just got a couple of questions. The first one is from Jenny. How do I find out what is being said about my firm?
I'll take that one. Okay. So there's lots of different ways, and traditionally, of course, that's people saying so and so said. But these days, more and more in the realm of digital, there's what we sort of like to call listening stations, but they're essentially aggregators of what's happening online. And there's a number of particular services which vary in their applicability, so it's not one size fits all. But what they do is you give it some keywords, you give it competitor sites, you identify a few social media channels, and then it goes out and listens and aggregates that and brings back to you things that you should know about, things where competitors or the people that you've been talking about have changed their message and you need to know about fairly promptly. So they are out there. Jenny, feel free to give us a hoy, and we can know a little bit more about your circumstances, and then we can point you to the right tools.
Thanks, Brad. I'll give this one to Scully. This is from James. Is Facebook the most important social media platform?
You've got it.
To some people, without a shadow of a doubt. Certainly my 12-year-old son, even though he doesn't not allowed to go on it. So I would suggest probably in professional services firms, to be honest, it's a nice to have rather than a must have. There are all sorts of different social media. LinkedIn I find works particularly well in professional services field, but it is a little bit horses for courses. But what I said earlier, please, the main thing I can say, whichever social media you're using, I urge you to drive people, link them back through to your site, your own real estate. Don't build your home on rented land, because Facebook changes its rules, as do many of the other social media. So they're in it for their own good, for their own business. So whilst it might be a bad idea to be into Facebook, I would suggest you're really trying to drive people back to you.
Thanks, Scully. Well, that's all the questions we've got for today's webinar. If you do think of something, or you go through all this information and process it, just email us at psm@image7.com.au, and we would be happy to answer any questions that you do have. Thank you for joining our webinar. I do hope you found it useful. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye for now.